In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Everybody has a story to tell you. Everybody wants a piece of me tonight. Everybody has a story to tell tonight.
Welcome to episode 2 of The Josh Says. Here's your host, The Josh, my co-host, my wife, Angel/OPP. For the second episode of The Josh Says, I'm going to take a moment to discuss, in the beginning once again, a little bit about NXT. They're doing their Gold Rush tournament right now. We had 2 matches out of 4 this past week on NXT. The second half should have been last night, but I haven't quite gotten around to viewing that yet. In the first round, we had Richie Steamboat in a rematch against Leo Kruger from a couple weeks ago. Richie Steamboat pulled off the win this time as opposed to Leo Kruger, who had won the time previous. We also had Seth Rollins and the Drew McIntyre rematch, which I did touch on in the last episode. Yeah. This time Seth Rollins pulled out the win to advance in the Gold Rush tournament. I found it a little odd that both faces pulled out the wins in the same sort of situation against people that they had lost to previously. It kind of leaves them 1-1 with them, but it just didn't quite feel right. We'll see how things play out afterwards. Now granted, it's all been taped already, and I do know that Seth Rollins does in fact become the first NXT champion. But we'll get into that stuff later on in the upcoming weeks as things develop further officially on television. The first thing I'd like to begin talking about is this past Saturday, my wife here and I, along with our friend Jeremy and his daughter, attended the 2CW show, 2CW-a-thon?
Yes.
Okay. The headlining matches they were promoting was a confrontation between Diamond Dallas Page and Muscle Marcos, and Tommaso Ciampa. Is it Tommaso or
Tommaso Ciampa.
I do believe it's Ciampa, not Ciampa.
No, he pronounces it Ciampa.
Alright, well, taking on the Night Terror, or the something of the night, I forget how.
Yeah, I'm not positive.
But anyway, Sami Callihan, who had wrestled John Morrison the night prior and was defeated by Morrison. What's he call? He called himself the Sicilian Psycho?
The Sicilian Psychopath.
Okay. And that would be Ciampa. I still like Ciampa better. I'm calling him Ciampa. I don't give a damn. And his big bushy beard.
Yeah.
The show proved to be decent. There were a few drawbacks. I myself was a little disappointed in the Diamond Dallas Page confrontation. We get a single diamond cutter. He says he's not going to step back in the ring unless it's against Randy Orton. Then he rolls a wonderfully inspirational film about a crippled dude who couldn't walk, who was unable to walk after doing Diamond Dallas Page's yoga. Woohoo! Yay! Infomercial. Front row seats for a fucking infomercial. And then we had a photographer in front of us most of the time who blocked most of the big action. It was ridiculous. I wanted to choke a bitch. I really wanted to choke a bitch. I considered it.
Should have just stood what Mooch told us to, do a rear naked choke and take her
Mooch
out.
is the security guard. He's also the security guard for the mayor of Syracuse, for our sort of locality here. Also happens to be friends with our friend Jeremy and this man right here, Isis Effects, who you can find on Facebook. If you don't know him, find him. He's awesome.
Yeah.
You can see here he has autographed his inner thigh here, right up to his groin. This is his title tour, path to the title tour.
Only 24 made.
Yes, and I have one of them. First thing I did when I got the show, bought it. Had to show support for ISIS.
And of course your wife had to go stand in line for DDP signatures.
Yes, which you will find one of them right here on my other 2CW shirt, which I was so kind to lend to my wife for the show today. So all in all, the 2CW show wasn't too bad. ISIS Effects and Cheech had a match in the very second match of the show after a 6-man tag. Decent match. Cheech, great ring psychologist, great connecting with the fans. ISIS did a pretty good job too, considering the fact that his hips got fucked up the night prior. But he still pulled it together and put on a great performance. Ciampa and Callahan ended up being the main event of the night, the final match we saw. The show was rushed a little due to the heat within the arena, and that was kind of a little disappointing too.
Yeah,
but not overall too bad. There were some decent spots in that match. Ciampa delivered what looked like a Death Valley driver onto the actual outs. Alright, he was on the apron of the ring, if you know what I mean. It dropped him like head and neck first directly on to the apron just outside of the ropes. It was sick. Rolled him back into the ring and ended up getting the win shortly after.
Yep. After he threw him in front of me and I got to flip him off.
Yeah,
that was great.
And my foot actually braced it because even the 2CW little outside ring crew people weren't there quick enough.
Didn't see it coming.
I was hoping they were going to plow over the fucking reporter lady. That would have done me, made me really happy.
It was close. Real close.
Yeah, but not close enough. Definitely not close enough. But, whatever. Another mild note. During a 4-man match, we had Jay Freddy, who sucks. You can also find him on Facebook too, Facebook. Jay Freddy. Taking on Slick Wagner Brown, Rick Swan, and I'm at a loss who the fourth person was.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Mm-hmm.
Slick Wagner Brown, Rick Swan, Jay Freddy, and there was one more person.
There was, and I don't remember. Colin Delaney.
Yep, that's right, Colin Delaney. Okay.
I believe Colin got hurt afterwards.
Yeah, it looks like he fucked up his calf area or hamstring.
Ham.
Yeah. After the match, the referees are helping everyone out selling their injuries, and Rick Swan walks directly in front of us. Mind you, this guy comes out the Jungle Boogie with little wings coming off of his crotch area. After the end of the match, he's being helped out with the referee, and he's complaining he can't feel his legs. Really?
Not even dragging his feet.
Yeah. I respond directly with him in front of me, if you couldn't feel your legs, you wouldn't be walking. So he stops, gets offended, looks at me, and says, you try taking a tombstone and see if you can feel your legs. In which I replied, I have. He had nothing to say to that, and kept walking. I'm sorry, he could have come up with something better than I can't feel my legs to try and sell an injury. Anyway, moving on from the 2CW event. As we know, Rock's been announced to have a world title match, WWE Championship match, at the Royal Rumble against whoever the champion may be. Well, going into SummerSlam, we have a triple threat match between Big Show, CM Punk, and John Cena. A few weeks ago on Raw, the audience was polled to see who they would like to see face The Rock, and unanimously winning was CM Punk. And I mean like unanimously. It was quite surprising, but it was exciting at the same time. From what I understand, and from what I've read, now granted, interweb reports can be off, but early creative plans are suggesting that John Cena will be defending the WWE Championship against The Rock at the Royal Rumble, in which The Rock is to win the match and go on to WrestleMania to defend against CM Punk. Either way, I think Punk and Rock is a storied rivalry that should definitely happen. I think it depends on exactly when G.I. Joe is set to come out. Now, CM Punk does have that Cobra Clan tattoo on his arm, and The Rock is starring as Roadblock in G.I. Joe 2. I smell marketing. Of course, CM Punk has to beat The Rock.
Well, of course.
Now, they dropped the ball with Rock beating Cena.
They better not drop this.
This is exactly what Punk needs. This is what he needs to officially elevate him as that kind of guy.
Yep.
He needs a big win over a really big name. They dropped the ball against Triple H. They dropped the ball against Undertaker. They need something serious for him, and The Rock is his best bet. I say it's got to happen. Now, since we did just touch on John Cena, who's the only really, really big name the company has because of the way they've chose to book certain things. Now, Vince likes to pride himself on being able to create a star and market his stars, and he has it in his mind that he can make anybody a star.
Yes.
Well, now here's the question: with the way that WWE has booked things over the last 10 years now, with John Cena constantly being on top, what would they do if John Cena was gone, for whatever reason? Now, there was an internet hoax going around first that The Undertaker had died in practicing wrestling maneuvers with John Cena. And then, a few days later, it was John Cena died practicing wrestling maneuvers with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Again, just a hoax. But what would happen if something really did happen to John Cena, for whatever reason? A career-ending injury, sudden death from whatever, randomly decided he got fed up and decided to quit one day. What would the WWE do at that point in time? They do not have another super mega star that's that big of a crossover. Now, they are working on it. They are making a sequel to 12 Rounds in WWE films. Would anybody like to take a gander at who's supposed to be starring in that? Blandy Boredom.
Really?
Who was originally cast to star in The Marine 3 until too many people got upset because he was a deserter.
He was a Marine and he deserted.
He went AWOL.
Yep.
Twice. That's definitely not the man to be starring in a Marine movie. Instead, it went to The Miz, who came back with a different haircut and a beard. On the topic of coming back, Slutty returns this Monday night to defeat Eve. Woohoo! Yeah. There was also a promo video for the bare knuckle brawler himself and the Barat Barrage, who returned on Smackdown in a dark match, not on actual television. He defeated, I don't remember, but he won, of course, in a return match, dark match that will not be airing on television, unfortunately. Now, I think this is great. We need someone like Wade Barrett back to add additional depth and freshen things up some. I say shove him right at Sheamus. Let Sheamus and Barrett fight over the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that's the best possibility right now. Alberto Del Rio is on his, third consecutive title match now?
Maybe.
Coming up?
I think.
Either way, he doesn't have a lot of support from the fans, the internet, the live attendees. I think I'm one of the few people that's actually an all-around Alberto Del Rio fan. Our mutual friend Alex, otherwise known as Ollie Lyman, or, well, whatever else he goes by, who you can see in some of his Jaded Hope videos, which you might want to go do real quick and tell him I sent you, whatever. Flip TV, Jaded Hope. Moon Prism on YouTube. Anyway, as he often refers to him as the black hole of charisma. It's funny, he continues referring to this in his 30 Thoughts on Raw, which you may also find on the Josh Says' Facebook page, links to occasionally. Shortly after this, Alberto Del Rio starts coming out in black trunks. Found that ironic. Didn't this week, which is another story. Speaking of this week in Alberto Del Rio, how about Grand Theft Sheamus? Using tout in a way that was actually more appropriate to things outside of the ring, but still relevant to wrestling, Sheamus, stealing Alberto Del Rio's car, would go around and visit different places in San Antonio, sightseeing. When he would return the car, it would be entirely destroyed, covered in bushes, and throwing up Mexican food, and leftover wrappers and garbage and trash in the front seat. I think this was like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, something. I think it was a Ferrari, but something of that variety. Expensive car. Leads you to wonder how much Vince pays in auto insurance for his company vehicles.
Probably quite a bit, considering how many vehicles have been smashed and destroyed in his time.
Yeah, enough from Austin and DX alone, but... Yeah. Not to mention the one that got severely damaged with that big fat fuck that got hit by it. What was his name?
Or the one they blew up?
Big Show. Well, there was a couple of them that got blown up. Usually with Vince in them.
Yep.
I don't know how many times that man's died, but, man, he's got to have, like, fucking life of cat. So anyways, back to the John Cena thing. If John Cena were to leave today, tomorrow, yesterday, who would they really take to replace him? Now, obviously, Randy Orton's the most groomed for the position, but arguably, can Randy Orton really be the man to shoulder the company? 2 wellness violations down already. 1 more, and according to company policy, he has to be released. Of course, he'd probably be signed again after his 90-day no-compete clause, but regardless, is he really the right man to shoulder the company on? Prior to this semi-heel turn they're giving CM Punk, which looks to be severely heel, I could have argued he could have been the shoulders to hold the company. But you can't hold the company with a heel. It doesn't work. Rey Mysterio, getting too up there in ages, and he's really never been that guy.
No.
Go-to guy when needed, but not that guy, not the guy. Very few people have ever actually been the guy. Arguably, there's only been a handful in history. Like the San Martinos or the Hulk Hogan, the John Cena. Even Michaels and Bret Hart, they weren't really the guy. They were just the temporary guy. Really, who on the roster could fit the role now of the guy? Not many people, but my vote, let's take a look into FCW territory, or even NXT. Chock full of potential and bright young stars. Many of them, with the proper grooming, could come in the same way John Cena did, get a win over a major legend or a major competitor like Chris Jericho was his first pay-per-view win. Many people thought that was ridiculous, and now let's look at things. John Cena's on top of the world. Can't do no wrong unless you're on the internet. Then he does all sorts of wrong. Breathing is wrong. Trust me, look on the interwebs, you'll see for yourself. Now, if I was going to pick somebody directly from NXT to take John Cena's role in the future, well, it'd be a tough call. You'd have to really go through and look through some of the people. Seth Rollins could probably fill the role, but he's a little smaller than what Vince and them really like for their guy. Same thing with CM Punk, which is one of the things that's always going to kind of hold him back. Well, a possibility actually, though, does come in the form of a big black man. His name is Big E Langston, and that motherfucker is huge. Really huge. I mean, I look at him and I see a more athletic Mark Henry. Similar size, similar build, a lot of potential. But I don't think he could really be the guy either. I mean, honestly, looking back in history, and not to sound racist, the guy has never been a black man.
No.
It's always been the white man. It's been the white man, the major baby face, the guy that hugs the babies and hugs and kisses the babies and throws out merchandise and drops his one-liners and, whatever. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins. Someone that could appeal to the general overall working man and just about anybody in general, unless you're the internet. Arguably also on that discussion, if we were to go back in the 80s in the time of Hogan, and if we were to have any of the technology we do now, I guarantee you, Hogan would have gotten stale a lot quicker.
Oh, yeah.
I would have hated him like maybe 5 years into his run.
Me personally, yeah, Hulk Hogan, big guy, whatever.
Hogan.
Not a humongous fan. Really not.
What you gonna do, brother? Okay, that's not my system. Anyways, so I would like to hear from some of you on what you think the WWE could or would do in the instance of John Cena falling off the face of the earth, getting hit by a meteorite, getting hit by a truck, dying in a barroom brawl. I mean, he was stabbed once before, maybe he'll get stabbed again, this time in the throat. Or the eye. So, you can hit me up on Twitter at JoshIsYourMom25 or Facebook.com/TheJoshSays. Either one of them are acceptable. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Now, I'd like to touch on the Ziggler-Jericho feud they've been building. Obviously, Jericho's back in the role of face. This week on Raw, he touts, I don't know if it ever did get posted, the tout, but he said he was going to post the tout, video recording towards the end of Ziggler's match, distracting Ziggler, causing him to get beat by Alex Riley. I think most people were surprised to find out Alex Riley was still with the company. This is akin to Shelton Benjamin defeating Triple H, which did happen. Many people don't, well, the interweb people remember. Casual fan or anybody else like that generally don't. Guarantee you my wife never even knew that Shelton Benjamin defeated Triple H one-on-one. You didn't, did you? Nope, it happened. Trust and believe. It's fact.
Okay, whatever.
But Alex Riley defeats Ziggler because of Jericho, and then goes on to trend worldwide on Twitter. Twitter. Yeah, Twitter. Now, I'm interested in seeing what's going to play out with this. Today is the 8th? 9th. Today is the 9th. In 5 days, that's right, 5 days, 5 days, 5 days, 5 days, 5 days, Chris Jericho plans to leave the company. He does have his tour going on with Fozzy, and he wants to focus on that. Now, mind you, this is even before SummerSlam hits. So, this leaves to question, how are they going to progress this? What are they going to do? Maybe Ziggler's going to be the one to take him out. Don't know. Let's see what happens. Hoping it means to move Ziggler on to bigger, better things, like the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, the next thing I'd like to discuss, my wife here is not privy to yet, so I'm going to discuss it right now. Recently, Kevin Nash twatted that the wrestling business died when Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero were champions. Hugging at the end of WrestleMania was the death of wrestling. He goes on to say, and I quote, well, not an exact direct quote, "It's like a porno with a man with a 3-inch dick. Even if you're not gay, you don't want to watch a porno with a 3-inch dick. It's not up to standard." And neither were Eddie Guerrero or Chris Benoit for their size, because they were too short and too small.
And he's a big, fat, lazy has-been. Point being,
Jericho would later on reply to him that he found it ironic he thought that Benoit and Guerrero killed wrestling as the champions, and that was the day wrestling died, when the WWE business itself was at its worst in 1995. Do you know who was at the top of the company then?
Kevin Nash.
As Diesel.
Yeah.
And that is when the WWE was at its worst.
Yeah.
The worst for the business. A little bit of irony, and I'm glad to see somebody with the right gusto was able to say something to Kevin Nash. It makes my loins happy. Except for not in the traditional methods or ways. But it does brighten my day. In the same way Kelly falling flat face on her face and maybe busting herself up would make me happy. Yeah, pretty much. I've done a great deal of talking here. My co-host has been rather quiet, so let's hear what she has to say.
About what?
Anything. Come on, speak your mind. What you got to say?
I don't have anything to say this morning.
Remember that, folks. A woman with no opinion whatsoever. So, that's about all I have for you this week with The Josh Says. This has been episode 2. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at JoshIsYourMom25 or on Facebook at Facebook.com/TheJoshSays.
Never wanted to go, I fucking said